Good morning, everybody, and welcome to, oh, look at my background, okay. And welcome to Digital Media Sync. So I obviously have a fake background, but I really am at Known Co-working. So Known Co-working is at 139 Orange Street. We are right above Takeaway and G Cafe. In the Palladium building, we are on the 4th floor, and we also have space on the 5th floor as well. Where I am is in the media lab, which is also called the attic. So I'm actually not broadcasting from my own office. I'm broadcasting in our little space, broadcasting space. So I have a green screen behind me, which you just saw, and lights and camera and everything. So this is working out very, very well. I wanted to do some admin right now and just kind of talk about not only where I am physically, but what Known provides in the online space. So this is a Known Live program, and the Known Live programs have 3 virtual programming shows for the community. One is which I'm sure you're familiar with by now if you've been watching for a while, is the Connection Corner. And the Connection Corner is hosted by Barb Nagel and calls all entrepreneurs, artists, dreamers, and change makers. So we've had many, many great guests in the Greater New Haven area on the Connection Corner. We also have this show right here, Digital Media Sync, which is your window to the digital communications world. I've done over 50 episodes. I don't even know what number I'm at right now. I'm going to have to check. And just like Connection Corner, they are all archived under the Digital Media Sync tab. Connection Corner, previous shows are archived in the Connection Corner tab. And then we have Pivot Talk, and Pivot Talk talks about when businesses must evolve for whatever reason. We had a lot of episodes that talked about when businesses had to evolve because of the pandemic and the subsequent shutdown. But we also talk about other reasons to pivot and other solutions as well. The other thing that I wanted to just bring up about Digital Media Sync is over the next 4 months, there's going to be 2 episodes per month of a partnership that we have with the New Haven Free Public Library. So I'll be bringing Colleen Lynch of I've Squared at the New Haven Free Public Library, and we are going to be talking about their digital toolbox. So this is for businesses and nonprofits. There are actually 9 tools, I believe. Many are for businesses, a few are for nonprofits, and one's a creative platform. So all of these are free to the public. Anybody who has a New Haven Free Public Library card. And then Colleen will talk about how you can get in touch with her, how you can utilize each of these tools. So we'll be doing a tool per episode. And the first one we're going to start with is, I think it's SEM Rush. So we're going to be talking about that on June 29th. So that is next Tuesday. And one more thing, we have our first Knownpreneurs graduation next week. This is going to be specifically for the graduates. There are 10 of them, I believe. And so we're going to be doing that. And we're also going to be opening up applications very soon for cohort number 2 for Knownpreneurs. These are for Black business owners. And you can get more information if you go to www.knownpreneurs.com. Okay, all set with that. I am super excited. I've been really, really happy. I've been being able to bring my friends and colleagues on Digital Media Sync and multiple times. And I'm really excited to bring Chris Tonsky from Fusion Print Design. She's going to be talking about how to make super websites, and I'm just gonna bring her on now to talk. Hello. Good morning.
Hey, Julia, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I love that you said I'm going to be talking about super websites.
Super websites. Woo! So I'm actually gonna bring, if you're ready for me to bring the presentation on as well.
Yes.
And you can talk about what you're going to talk about.
Okay. All right. Well, first I should get on the right slide. And I'm going to talk about just some different elements and components that we all should have in our websites that could really help boost your visibility in Google, and also keep your visitors engaged and give them a really good impression. Because as we know, it only takes about a half second to get a good or bad impression of someone's website. And that could make or break our business at times, because in most cases these days, our website is our most valuable marketing tool, as you know.
Yep.
Jump in at any time. Please help me make this conversational.
Yeah, I definitely want to make this conversational, and I also want to let people know as well that if you are online, if you have any questions for Chris, please put them in the comment section. We are currently on Facebook and YouTube, so I have access to the comment section for both of those platforms. So anytime you have a question or comment, or just want to say hi, let us know. I'm super excited because you were actually talking about, when we were in the green room, how you were making changes to, your own website as well, which, first of all, big kudos to you, because I know many of us who are in marketing and design, we are our own, what is it, the cobbler's children's kids. Yeah, the cobbler's kids don't get the shoes. So first and foremost, we got to take care of our own shoes first.
Yep. And it's been a while, and yeah, I'm embarrassed, because as a web designer, I should have a top-notch website, but being busy updating and maintaining tens of other websites,
Right.
I have neglected my own digital presence. But it's time to get that up and rock and rolling. So I've been spending a lot of time rebranding, so to speak, and got my new website launched, and actually it launched at 1 a.m. this morning.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and that's another thing that happens as well, right? Like it happens. Well, it happens. I don't know. Every time I hear about a website launching, it's always like early in the morning.
Yeah. So
So what are some of the things that you noticed, and what are some of the things that you actually took care of on your own website? Is that listed in here as well?
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm going to show you. The four major topics that I'm going to cover are design, content, functionality, and SEO. So with design, it's been proven that it only takes about a half second to form the opinion of a website, and those are all design features. Colors, spacing, symmetry, fonts, amount of text. And then I'm going to go into content, where I talk about the pages that we all should have, or I get a lot of questions from my clients saying, what should I have in my website? And it's always different depending on your type of business and your business goals. But there are some standards that we can all have in our websites that will make us stand out. And then functionality, what do we want our websites to do? Cool bells and whistles that we can add that add value for our clients. And then, of course, there's the search optimization component, which I've talked with you at great length in the past, which I'm a big geek on SEO, so I'm going to try not to talk too much about SEO, but it's definitely an important piece of your website presence.
Great. You're going to cover a lot.
Yeah. Oh, God. I hope so. All right. So I already talked about first impressions. You only have a couple seconds. And in that time, we don't want to lose our user because here we go with the SEO. If someone bounces off your site because it doesn't look bad, because it doesn't look good, Google is going to take note of that, and it's going to affect your ranking. That people don't feel this is quality content, and so when they search for a certain keyword, you might falter in the search results because people have been bouncing off your site quickly.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the first thing we see are the design components, most importantly, colors, fonts, and images. So, I don't know, Julia, what do you think the appropriate amount of colors are to have for a website?
Oh, this is a quiz.
Yes.
I would say between like 2 and 5. I don't think it should be a lot of colors.
Right. Aside from your images, which could be full color.
Right.
We're talking about colors in your headlines, colors in your paragraph text, colors in your icons. We want to stick to between 2, 3, 4, 5 is pushing it colors. And they want to be relative to your brand. So whatever your colors are with your logo, essentially, you want to carry those logos throughout your website with maybe a few other colors that are maybe shades of your branding colors.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I was thinking, shades of the colors as well. So if you have like a 2 or 3 color logo, I'm pretty sure if you want to stick to that quality, you want to stay within the shades of those colors and not venture too far off, because then you're going to be, clashing colors. I've seen that happen too on websites that are not well designed.
Right. Same goes with fonts. You want to stick to 1 or 2 fonts. Basically, you want to use fancy or display fonts sparingly, and those are like script fonts or fat or inline fonts with design elements to them. Those maybe want to be used in your headlines only, but your paragraph text should be standard throughout, a simple serif or sans serif font. And if you need help with fonts, Google Fonts has a lot of different fonts to be looked at, and you could easily choose them and add them to your website. But
so simple, readable fonts, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I think people think that the fancier the font, the better it's going to look. It's going to look fancy or whatever. And really, people just want to read the words that are on that homepage. They just be able to get a glance.
There are so many cool fonts out there, but if you only use that in one headline or one area, then that's going to stand out so much more than just flooding your website with that type of display font.
Yeah, quality over quantity.
That's right. And along with fonts is line spacing, where I've seen so many websites that the line spacing is crunched and too close together, where it's so hard to read. And in websites these days, we really need to keep our content short sentences, lists, because we're in a scannable mind frame. We don't really read websites from top to bottom or left to right. we kind of just scan, and here's a good example of some line spacing, where here's bad line spacing, here's good line spacing, and here's too much line spacing.
Right.
So this percentage here is the value of the size of the type. So the spaces between each line is about 150% of the type size.
Yeah, and I love that you're showing a visual of that as well, because when people can see, obviously in the top one, it's not going to be readable to even the average person, not even somebody who has eyes like me, where I already need readers. You know, and then the spacing in the middle is obviously makes nice, you know, has a nice flow to it, and yeah.
Here, I didn't show the Google Fonts site. I was just talking about it, but it's fonts.google.com. You could scan through this whole group of fonts. You could also just categorize it as, if you're just looking for some type of display font to use in headlines, you could filter your search results just to that, and you could find a font that matches your brand.
So the previous one, Zeph just said good morning, Zeph Zan, but also she said she loves the, you know, also loves the middle sizing that we showed before. So in the Google fonts, ooh, so I like the middle one in the Google. Almost before we knew it, we had left the ground. Yeah, okay, so it shows like what that looks like, and it also shows spacing as well.
Right. I didn't see the comment from Zeph.
Oh, I can pop that up. She just, there we go, morning. And she, like, when we were showing the percentage, yep, obviously confirming that the middle one is the one that's the most readable.
Cool. Awesome. So glad to have you, Zeph. So colors, fonts, and images. Images are very, very, very important to have on your website, and you could also optimize those images to be found with Google search, but it also helps the user understand what your content is about even more, because we don't like to read so much. So if we just get a visual or an icon or an infographic that helps us guide our eye, and it helps us understand what we're looking at. If you don't know how to find sources for images, there are some free sources out there. Unsplash, Pixabay. What are some other sites that we use for free images? There's also Video Clip.
Yeah, and even when I'm doing images in Canva, or I'm doing graphics in Canva, they have a lot of free images available there as well.
Yes, so Canva, yep, very good source.
Pablo is another one.
Pexels.com.
Stocksy is one that keeps popping up for me.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. I love that name.
Stocksy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been showing up in my Facebook. I'm not gonna pull it up because you have the screen, but I'm gonna put it in the comment section. But it really provides there's a lot of diversity in the images, and they're just like gorgeous. There's a lot of like very real images, really cool images. Awesome. I'm gonna pull that up. So it's stock and then SY, Stocksy.
All right.
Ooh. I'm like, wait a minute, I know something about images.
Awesome, thanks for that. Going back to color, there's another resource that I love to use, the Adobe color wheel, which is at color.adobe.com. If you're looking to establish your brand, or if you're looking to enhance your existing brand, or just looking for a basic harmonious color palette to add to your website, this is a good resource to use, where you could go through the different color rules and find a palette that works for you, or is that speaks to you. But what is also very cool with this site is there's this new accessibility tools feature, and I know you've been speaking with Sharon Rosenblatt about accessibility.
Accessibility, yeah.
Very important component to websites, that to make sure that they can be seen by colorblind people, and there's your contrast is in check. So there's colorblind safe checkers, and there's also a contrast checker where you could add the colors that you're wanting to use in your website.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you get a grade here, and it's giving you this like fail. This sucks. This, you can't read orange on gray.
Right.
So if you're ever in question about the contrast or the readability of your colors, this is a good
that is so good to know. Yeah. I did not know that. So I put that in the comment section as well. So color.adobe.com.
Yes, thank you. All right, so colors, fonts, and images, we've covered that. So next is layout, and there are some ways that we've studied the way that users look at sites and the way our eyes scan through our sites. And this F pattern is typically how people read websites. So the F pattern means we start at the upper left, we go to the far right, probably because of the navigation. We're used to wanting to read the menu items.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the left and down the left side, down to the bottom. That's why we put a lot of important information on the left column or in this downward glance of the F pattern. And so here is where I have my call to action, which is another very important component, a must-have to your website, because we have to have a reason to have a website. We have to want our users to do something. So this is our call to action. What do we want our users to do? And we want to make it simple. We don't want to confuse the user. We want to first put our value proposition. What is our biggest benefit that we offer to our users? Why do people want to work with us or buy our product or service?
Right. And I noticed too, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I noticed too that you have one header and then one sentence basically describing that feature, what it is you do. So I would say that if what you're saying is get that into a few words, make it very concise, this is exactly what you're going to get in that very top section, because that's the thing that's going to grab you and pull you in, and it has to be succinct.
Right. And we call this top section the above the fold area, which is a newspaper term, but it's very relevant with websites where we really want to drive that value proposition home in the very first initial impression. We want to let our users know why the heck they want to use us or work with us. So we need a very succinct and targeted value proposition, and then a call to action, meaning what do we want to do? I have two calls here, but you could see that the main call is a different color. It stands out. So the main call is in green. I really want people to contact me right away, but there could be other calls to action like sign up now, buy our products, get on our mailing list. So what are some other calls to action that we want to do with our websites? Get someone to listen to.
Yeah, call, sign up, read a PDF or a white paper or something like that.
Yep.
Get more information. Buy now.
Yeah, exactly. So your calls to action want to stand out, and we stand those out with colors and make sure that those colors are used sparingly. Like this green color, I don't have in too many other places throughout my website.
So that really makes it stand out. The other thing that I'm noticing too, and I put in the note section or in the comment section for known, is that we're noticing how above the fold is so clean. It's not cluttered at all.
Yes, we used to have slideshows above the fold, and people still do, but we are learning that we don't have the attention span to sit there and read something that's going to slide across and wait and slide across. So the trend now is with big websites and big brands is one message, one stable image with a little bit of animation, because if I refresh my site, there's a little bit of movement going on, which is engaging and pleasing, but it's not too crazy. You don't get confused. It's just a little bit of a little eye candy to get you engaged. So above the fold, very important. Simple messaging, compelling images. And let's get back to this guy. So the F pattern, the rule of threes. The rule of threes is we've determined that a group of three things are more appealing, memorable, and effective than an even number of groupings. So when you're listing a list of benefits, it's like it's clear, it's concise, it's readable. It's when you see, even in, like I have here, just three simple messages: who we are, what we do, and how we do it. It's easier to grasp and understand. And we typically seem to gravitate towards groupings of threes. Here's a group of four, but if you look at a lot of websites, you will see the grid space is broken out into three columns.
There's three columns. Yeah, and again, I noticed that that's easier to read. And also, I know that, and I'm guilty of this as well, right? When we're on the home page, we want to make sure that we're going to grab people, and it's like, what's the thing that's going to make them stay, right? So then we start throwing things on the page and just be like, oh, here's a little thing here, and then it'll go to another page and discuss it further, or here's another thing. But really having something that's continuously concise and continuously on brand and on point, and making the points that you want to make, that's the thing that's going to lead people further into your site or further to a call to action. So I really like the fact that you brought up the rule of threes. It's just like, what are three things? And that's something like when we just talk in general, not just, website, it's like three simple things. Like you always hear that term. So you're used to it.
Or people say, three good things are going to happen, or a lot of things are grouped off in threes or thirds.
Yeah. So bringing that general rule into web design.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how visually that rule applies as well. But you also mentioned that there's links to get to other pages throughout the site. So I'm going to skip around a bit. This is a little bit SEO strategy, search engine optimization, where not only do you want to have a menu of navigation to all your pages, but Google would like to see that, Google will give you more juice and more points if you highlight a word that's very important to your service or brand,
Mm-hmm.
and you link it to another page. It will tell Google that Fusion Design is an authority on brand strategy. The more internal links you have with keywords underlined. More about us is kind of not that strong of an internal link because it doesn't have that many keywords, but if for the user alone, they're going to want to learn more about. But for search engines to link your keywords is very important for your ranking. White space.
Oh yeah, white space.
People can really clutter a lot of stuff and content, and not give air. White space doesn't really have to mean white as the color, but it just means give some air around your content so the user has an easy experience of navigating their eyes throughout your website. I'm just going to show a bad example of bad white space, bad color combinations, and bad fonts. Here is a dentist website that uses a script font in their headlines, and script font is typically used to illustrate something luxurious or elegant, and I don't think dentistry behooves that type of type style. So I think it's bad branding. This is way out west. So hopefully that no one's watching this is related to this business.
But the other thing too is I'm noticing is they're not following the rule of 3, and their sub menu items are encroaching upon the main item, the main header space. So I'm looking at this and I don't know where to look.
Yeah, don't know where to look. I'm getting a little frazzled, and then when I see this red text with this highlighting, I'm just completely turned off. So this looks like someone took a template that was probably made for maybe a jewelry line or something more fancy, and they shoved it, dentistry content into that type of template. So so this is an example of some bad color combinations, bad font use, bad use of white space, and unclear calls to action with with that slideshow that we're trying to get away from. All right, content.
Could do a whole show just on content.
Yeah. We really want to keep our content compelling. We want to write in a way that is more how we speak to users, how we speak in general, how we speak to people. We want to keep it conversational. We want to keep it engaging. We want to keep it unique. Google really favors you for unique content. So if you're paraphrasing something from another website, you have the possibility of ranking lower for certain keywords if you have duplicate content from other websites. So you want to keep it unique and engaging and conversational. Here's some SEO points to your content. So we want to keep some keywords in our content, most importantly in our headlines, subheads, and paragraph text. Most importantly, your first paragraph should have those keywords. You want to really find out what your clients are searching for, or just think about what you would search for if you were searching for a web designer or a marketing professional, and try to integrate those keywords into your headlines and subheads with it making sense to the user as well. So we don't really want to write for search engines. We want to write for humans, but we want to keep it also.
Just keep it in mind.
Yes.
And search engines are getting more smarter, more smart
Yes.
about, I was like, I can't remember which way. But more in tune with how us humans actually really speak, what our sentence structure is more like, and how we search for things in real life. I wonder if Alexa has anything to do with that, or Siri.
Yes.
Warning.
Oh, yes. Siri and Alexa are very much educating search engines as to what humans are asking for, and really making that more important when Google is pulling up search results.
So if anybody in the audience has any questions, let us know. I am looking at the comment section. I know that Seth said hi, so anybody else wants to say hi or ask a question or have a comment, just put it in the comment section and I'll read it. Okay.
All right.
What are we doing? What's next?
We already went over call to action, short sentences, lists, bulleted lists. We like looking at that more than reading a paragraph. It's easier on the eye and easier on our mind. Now, pages. Like I said before, people ask me, what pages should I have in my website? Well, it depends on your product or service, but we all want to have an about page, and people really want to know about your company, who you are, where you're located, how long you've been in business. And then you could have it in a separate page or not, but it's really good to see your staff to identify with some real people. So your about page or staff page is an important page to have. And then your services, you want to list your different services or your products. And in some cases, in many cases, people want to see a pricing page. So it's good to have some prices listed. In many industries. You could weed out a lot of bad leads by or just unqualified leads if they're not looking to or if they don't understand what things cost. You can just weed those questions and people out right away with putting some pricing in your how to do with multi-language. Stump me on that.
Yeah, I find that to be very difficult, right? Because unless you have somebody who actually that you can hire to do correct translations, I haven't really found a plugin that does translations very well. There's always something that gets translated incorrectly. And then you don't know, because if you don't have a second or third language, you don't know that it's incorrect unless you have human eyes looking at it.
Well, I know that WordPress, the website content management system used to make most of the websites that we see on the web, it can be easily translated into hundreds of languages with their translate plugin.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So WordPress has out of the box some translation tools that I've read to be very effective, but I don't have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, that is a good question, and I think that's something that is going to be continually, and I think it's going to continually be a learning process, just like when we were talking about how people search. That's also not a perfect system as well.
Right.
That's a good question. Thanks, Kevin.
Very good.
And if you have an answer, let us know.
Yeah, right.
Something that we've all been looking at.
Help us. Another very good page or section to add to your website are reviews or testimonials. That way you could show your customers that you've worked with other people and they've had a good experience. And how do we get reviews or testimonials? Well, we can ask our clients to review us on Google.
Mm-hmm.
The review page for if you have your business listing with Google. That is probably the most common place that people go to read testimonials or reviews on a product or service. So I have in my website here, I've solicited testimonials from my clients, which I've illustrated with a nice image. It's really helpful to identify with a human being and what they've said about me and a link to their website or what they stand for on the web. Another place that, like I said, I have a click to read more testimonials, and it goes right to my review page on Google, where you could read more of my client interaction, where I actually write back and forth, and Google keeps track, and they can also star rate my my business there. So testimonials and reviews, very important, very good for some social proof as to why people should work with you. Pricing, I went over. Case studies, kind of more like reviews, along the line with reviews. Case studies is a good page to have, or section where you can write about a situation where you helped a client and what happened as a result. Those are all good things to add to your site to add more credibility to you as a business. And more often these days, Google is wanting to look for frequently asked questions. We know as we search, we can, if we ask, how do you make watermelon gazpacho? Mm-hmm. And you'll see below that search results a lot of other questions that people have asked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So a facts page, a frequently asked questions page is really good to have. Mine is in the form of our process. I got in the head of my user or my client, and I thought about all the questions they might ask as in regards to the website process or the web design process. Mm-hmm. And because people have asked me, well, what do you need from me? How do we get started? What happens if I don't have any images? What happens if I don't have a domain? What happens after we go live? Do you just drop me off and just let me just swim out there on the internet on myself, by myself? And so this is a little section that kind of tries to answer those questions.
Nice.
So facts, very important.
That's very important. And the thing about FAQs is, again, it's not paragraphs and paragraphs of information. It's just you scan through what's available for questions. It's like, great, I had a question about this. Here it is. It shows the question. It gives you the answer. So you're talking about a lot of different things where rules of three, bulleted list, short paragraphs, FAQs, all, and the succinct home page above the fold. And these are all things that let people get the information very quickly and then guide themselves for more information. And I just, for me, I think that that's like really the most important thing. I see a lot of people wanting to put everything on the home page at once so that something will grab someone, and that's counterintuitive.
Right. If you look at my homepage, you see that I don't have a lot of content going on.
Right. No. And it's all things that you can, you have to think about like where people's eyes are going to focus. And if there's no place for an eye to focus, then they may not take the time to read through. You just get frustrated, which is what you've been saying.
Yep. Staff, we talked about reviews and testimonials, pricing, ongoing blog. A blog could be in the form of news articles or recipes or products or stories or new pieces of work or new pieces of music you've released. If they're sectioned off in smaller posts or blog posts or WordPress or other content management systems purpose as blog posts, they will be looked at by Google, and Google is going to see that your site is being updated frequently, and it's going to look at most importantly the titles of those articles. So if you could keep relevant information on an ongoing basis on your website, the more the better your ranking is going to be in Google for those keywords that you're adding to those titles. A lot of clients of mine want to just, and myself included, here's the website, it's done. Whew, I can rest now. Well,
right.
Not really. Your website never ends. Information is always changing, and we want to tell Google that we're keeping up with the times.
Mm-hmm.
So blogging is very important, and email capture is where we don't distract the user, but we allow the user to give us their email address if they want, in exchange for something that's going to benefit them, tips or tricks in your industry, or relevant events, or news and information, or a sale or a promotion. You don't want to be too salesy in your email newsletters, but you definitely want to capture emails and capture leads on your website for people that are interested in possibly engaging with you in the future. Some email capture tools, most reputable are MailChimp and Constant Contact.
Mm-hmm.
You can sign up for free, and they give you some easy code to spit into your website or to add to your website, and it'll give you a nice little concise pop-up form or just not a pop-up, a location for someone to give you their email address, so you can keep engaged with people that are looking at your website and that are interested in your product. That's a good thing to have on your website. And social sharing, we want to make our blog articles and our content easily shareable, so you can share it as well, or your customers and users can share. So here I have in my blog post section, at the bottom of every blog post, I have a way to share this article with the world. So social sharing is a very good component to search engine optimization, because the more exposure you have, the more that Google sees that people are going to your site and looking and reading your articles. So make sure your articles are easily shared, or if not, make sure you share them manually by copying the link of that page and pasting that into your new Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts or whatnot. it makes a nice circle of traffic that that helps your ranking in Google.
Awesome.
E-commerce. These days, a lot of retailers have had to go online to sell their products and services. So there are some easy tools to get your products for sale on your website that don't require you to know that much about e-commerce or that much about code. Here is a client of mine, a friend of mine, that needed to or wanted to get all of her beautiful paintings online in an easy way for people to look at them and buy them. This was a tool from Equid, ECWID. It's an e-commerce platform that it's for non-coders, non-tech savvy people.
Mm-hmm.
And with a simple membership to this site, it's about $150 a year. You could just start adding your paintings or your products, and then with some code, you can add your website, and boom, you have a beautiful e-commerce platform that is very familiar e-commerce type of layout. It has a price, has a title, has a picture, it has a buy button, add to bag, and it has a way to share those products. So Equid is a really easy tool for non-coders to add e-commerce to their website. Chat.
Yeah. That's always a question for me, whether it's necessary or not, and like how you decide if you're going to use a chat.
Yeah, good question. I find that, I mean, how often do you use that feature on a site?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know for, my agency, I do not have a chat feature, but I have a calendar feature. So if I know I'm not going to be available to talk, and I'm not going to use a plugin or a platform where I'm going to have to use a service to do the live chat function. So I use a different function, but I also do have clients that are like, yeah, we want to have a live chat available. And we are either going to be available or the service is going to be added to the platform.
Yeah. Facebook Messenger is a tool that a lot of us are familiar with. So Facebook has a nice integration with your website where you could add a chat feature. I've since removed mine because it was a little cluttered. And I'm not always available to chat. And so when I want to chat with someone and I get that canned response, thank you for contacting us, we'll get back to you shortly. So it's like, why was that why did I go through that process? So it depends on your business or service, and if you're going to be available around the clock, or if you're going to have some help from your staff to answer questions from clients that are chatting with you, that's a good feature to add. So Facebook Messenger has an easy integration tool to get that chat box to show up on your website. And there's a lot of other chat integrations that you can use. But yeah, you've got to keep in mind, do your customers need instant response? A lot of us want instant response.
Right. No, that's definitely true.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom of my list here. So just as far as SEO, again, very important to keep your site relevant and high in Google rankings. So keywords in your titles, in your page headlines, in your metadata, in your image alt text, um, in your paragraph text, in your internal links. And if you could get outside websites to link to you, the better. So all of those are important to get people to your website. And then once they are on your website, it's important to keep in mind all of the design and functionality and structure features that we've talked about today.
Wow. You did really great.
Ah!
Look at that. It's 9:27. We have like 3 minutes left. Questions. A ton of information. And the thing about this episode that I really love is that the way you sectioned everything out and talked about each component of a website so succinctly. And I know that we've talked about SEO before, we've talked about Google Analytics before, a little bit about e-commerce, and I think those 3 things are definitely things that if you would like to come back and talk more about and more in depth, because I know, and you know, over the years, I've always come to you with like, oh, this client e-commerce, or this client is asking about SEO, and that sort of thing. And there's so many questions, and this is the reason why you do, like, this is your area completely. This is not something that I know, like, I know basically, so I know enough to ask questions and to do, some of, the work, but you really like build these things out. So
it's like building a car. Are you building a Volkswagen? Are you building a Cadillac? It's always different. There's always so many different questions to ask, and different actions that you want your user to take on your site. And so it's a hairy business, and you really have to stay on top of
everything.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this for? Because I was thinking about that as well. I often forget like how long I've been in business for.
Yeah. It's like, I've been in website design for 25 years, but my LLC, Fusion Design, is 12 years old now.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming, and it's been a hard journey, but things are starting to make more sense and get easier because I've done it 1,000 times.
Yeah. And the other thing too is that you do keep up with everything, always researching and always sharing your knowledge and putting that into the work that you do. So I really super respect that. So it's 9:30 now. I want to thank you so much for being my guest, and I hope that you will come back again. I want to thank everybody who's watched. Again, if you missed any part of this, you want to rewatch it, it will be on www.nhbknown.com. Go to the Digital Media Sync tab, and it'll be the latest video up. We'll put that up within the next couple of days. Chris, if you need a recording of this, I'll send that to you as well. And just really quickly, I want to let everybody else know that next week, again, I will be speaking with Colleen Lynch of the New Haven Free Public Library. We're going to do the first in a series of 7, I think. Can't remember if it's 7 or 8, but it's the first in the series. And we're going to be talking about each of the platforms that are available in the I've2 digital toolbox. And that's it. Have a great day, rest of everybody.
Thanks,
All right.
Julia.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.